Hi and welcome. In this video, I'm doing a watercolor practice in my flower sketchbook. The sketchbook is from Dessert. It is 95 GSM, which works out to about 64 pounds. It is not particularly heavy paper. And my watercolor pan, you got a glimpse of that on the left, is ancient. It has 12 colors. It goes back literally decades from when I was taking fashion design courses. I could have used a heavier paper. I could have used my coffee paper that I made in a previous video. Really easy, really fun to make. I'll link that up to the right. So I'm just putting down some colors. I am going in with a very simple palette. Basically, I wanted to start with red, orange, which of course has red in it, violet, which of course has red in it. So everything's related. I'm going to add a little bit of blue and a little bit of yellow. Blue that's going to contrast with the orange and yellow with the violet. Pretty basic colors. I'm adding them in, making some a little bit darker values. I have a bit of a diagonal composition, which is what I tend to lean towards. I'm going to, as this moves along, make some of them bigger and some of them smaller. I guess I was more focused on putting down the colors and really wasn't thinking of different sizes, but I will correct that. The yellow is going to be a little bit smaller, and the red is going to, spoiler alert, the red is going to get bigger. I think what I really want to say or show in this video is just to give ourselves permission to do something different. As I said, I'm not a watercolor artist. I work mostly in acrylics and mixed media. But once in a while, it's nice to step out of the comfort zone, try something different. We think, oh, it's probably not going to be any good. That's not really what I'm comfortable with. But it's good to do that. It's good practice. It's good creative practice. And it's just nice to try something different, to allow ourselves to try something different. And as I said, nothing complicated here. This is just my flower sketchbook and again, my ancient pan of watercolors. And I just checked, they are Pelican brand. The vase, I love making funky vases, is a teal color, a little cooler from everything else going on with the flowers. And I'm going to play around with that a little bit as well. Just redefining, retouching what I want to see with the flowers. I'm not going to maniacally try to fill in all the spaces. I'm going to fill in the centers, as you saw, with just the same colors, using the darker colors on the lighter flowers, and of course the lighter colors on the darker flowers, going in with a little bit of red as if there's other flowers in the background here, and some pink eventually, just again to fill in the space a little bit. I think along with the importance of giving ourselves permission to try different mediums or different subjects is also not to worry that much about how good it's going to be. In this case, I can just turn the page and start over again. I usually take notes on the back of the page of what worked, what didn't work, or what I should remind myself of. Also, when I watch videos, and this one is no different, it's sped up. The blank parts or the non-moving parts where I'm just sort of staring at the subject or the page blankly, wondering what to do next, are edited out. So it sort of gives the impression that, I'm zooming along at breakneck speed, totally inspired. But there are times where I stop and just look at what I'm doing and think, do I have my light colors, dark colors? What's the values? Warm colors, cool colors, what does the composition look like? Is it making sense? And again, I'll take notes and just, try to do better next time. I actually have another project I've been working on along the same lines, and I'll put that up in a video eventually as well. Sort of just playing around and trying to get better at the same thing. I'm going in with some acrylic paint pens here, and I'm going to soften them up again with a brush with some water on it. And again, just making marks on the vase, trying to give it interest, trying also my different tools because, there's no pressure here. It's just all experimenting, taking notes of what works, what doesn't work. And then, of course, next time, applying those and seeing what we come up with a second round or a third round or even more attempts at doing this. If you're wondering about all the supplies I use, I have that list. I no longer put on the YouTube videos because YouTube flags expired links. But the whole list goes out in my newsletter, updated regularly, and you can sign up for that on my site. I'll put that up on the screen as well. It is rosemarymichelle.com, and just, of course, on the first page, you will see the artsy newsletter that you can subscribe to. So I'm going in with a background in a lime green, a sort of lime green, ties in with the yellow a bit. Again, that idea of limited palette of creating colors with the basic colors I already have. That's been a game changer for me. I have in the past been doing things with way too many colors and you tend to get lost. Also important to take notes of how you get a certain color. I often mix my colors and then I have to write down, I've been doing swatches and writing down how I got to that color. So that's been another advance for me. The background is going to be quite similar in value to the vase. So at some point, I'm going to go back in and darken the vase a little bit. And again, I'm not going to maniacally try to fill in every little space between the flowers, but just going around and getting a bit of the background in. I could have started with a light wash before, or as I said, using something pre-tinted with an acrylic ink, something like my coffee paper. I have, as I said in other projects, done an already used a wash on the background before going in. I think I do like that process better. Again, just all experimenting and seeing what works. I used a bit of an acrylic pen and a lime green as well to do the little spaces between the flowers. Nothing, again, crazy, not spending too much time doing that. And here I'm going to darken the vase a little bit. So I'm using those acrylic paint pens in a darker teal color, softening them up with a bit of water, and then going back in and adding them. I think I use a light blue and more of a teal color on this vase. I'm probably going, oh yeah, I'm really darkening it. And then I'm probably going to go in with some pastels. I'm going to use some pastels on the background as well. I really like working on the vases, just making them kind of funky, oddly shaped, sometimes crooked looking. And I'm just going to add a little bit to the background. I put a little collage. It's from a booklet I got at the dollar store. It has little cutout shapes or die cut shapes. It says creativity is experimenting, growing. Again, not something I usually do, but decided to step out of the comfort zone and try something different. Here I'm using some pastels also a little bit on the background, just making some marks. I'm also going to put in some asemic writing. I really, really like asemic writing. I have a video on asemic writing and I'll put that up in the corner as well. You can click on that link and save it for later. I thought it took you away from the video, but it does not. But seemed to be well like this video on asemic writing, and I really, really enjoyed doing it. It's something I really, really like to add to my artwork. I'm going to outline them with a fine liner, outline my flowers. This is really going to make them pop. It just makes them really interesting and adds to the sort of, I'll say lacy shape or lacy edging. I wanted to call it crenellations, but those are very marked squares that you see at the top of a castle. So maybe I'll just call these doily-like shapes that I'm outlining. This just makes them really interesting and, as I said, gives them a bit of a quirky shape or highlights this sort of, quirky, uneven shape. I think it's sort of the factor that makes them pop. The black really does make them stand out. I've done experiments. This is a Sharpie pen. That's why I put it up on the screen and put it up on the camera so we can see it because I know I'm going to forget. But it's just a Sharpie, really fine point pen. Just make sure everything is really dry because if the paint comes off, I've noticed on felt pens, it just tends to ruin them. Speaking from experience here, I have lots of felt pens in different states of health. I've done also other experiments in outlining them in gold, very different effect, and I will post that other video eventually as well. This is actually very relaxing to do. I'm doing it obviously at a much slower pace for just the purpose of not making this an eternally long video. I've sped it up a little bit. So this is the final product, and I will put some complete shots at the end. If you enjoy easy projects, if you like doing especially vintage things, I have a video on making antique letters. I'll put that here. You can watch that as well. A bit of the asemic writing here. You can see the marks on the background made with the pastels. So thank you for joining me. As always, I appreciate having you here. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, if you've enjoyed the content. Happy creating, everyone, and I'll see you soon.